It's been almost 2 weeks since I've done a fig update, a fig orchard update, and a lot has changed. Not necessarily in a good way, but I've had some good outcomes. Um, I mean, as most of you know, if you've been watching some of my previous videos, living in Florida, it's wet, and I do deal with rust. But recently in the last couple of weeks, I've kind of got the feeling that what I was dealing with wasn't really rust; it was something else. Because like the leaves, instead of taking their sweet time and dying, like usually with rust, it doesn't just wipe my leaf out in like 1 or 2 days. And I was getting that. In fact, I was getting brand new leaves coming out the very tip. They were already getting black. I mean, this whatever I had, I did find out what it was, but it was weird because it was so much more aggressive than whatever the fungus is that just causes rust. And so, to my shock, I was started having an immense number of leaves die. I mean, very quickly too. I mean, an entire leaf would get just ugly black, not like rust black, but just nasty looking black, and it would fall just in a matter of like 1 or 2 days. But then I noticed I started getting these like, I don't know, they look like cankers on the branch, on the stems of some of my trees. And from that point up, a few days later, the entire tree would die. I had done a little video just a week ago, and asked if anybody out there like knew what the heck this was. And there was a very knowledgeable watcher that had posted and said it looks like anthracnose. I mean, it sounds like anthrax, but it's anthrac with a C and then NOSE on the end of it, anthracnose. And it is a type of fungus. And guess what? It likes wet weather, hot weather, which like defines Florida to a T. So that really explained what I was dealing with, which was kind of a comfort. And then, of course, the solution, really to any fungal outbreak, is do some fungicide. Having said that, though, I was using copper fungicide when I got hammered by this anthracnose fungus. I don't know. You may have different experience than I do with copper fungicide, but I kind of feel like it wasn't strong enough, and I needed a little something more. Having said that, though, I applied this. It's stuff called Daconil. I'm not a salesperson for it. There's probably other stuff very much like it. It's a fungicide, Daconil. It says it's, safe for gardens and fruit trees and so forth. But the thing about it is it does have a window. Like, so, if you have a fig tree, and you've got some figs on there you plan on picking in the next say 2 weeks, I would not spray it with Daconil. It does say there's a bit of a time, and they do. I mean, they have all kinds of vegetables and fruit trees, and they tell you about how long you should wait. And I think the longest I've seen is like 14 days, after you spray. um, but it's supposedly safer, using for edible stuff. You just have to wait a little bit, right? So I that is fine with me. I don't really want to use a lot of like chemicals and pesticides and stuff like that. But in this case, honestly, I think I would lose quite a few trees to this fungus if I don't use something a little stronger. Um, and in the future, I think what I'm going to do is spray something like a Daconil, like in the spring, maybe in the early summer, really before big fig production. And I think in some cases maybe you could knock it out before it even really gets started, right? I was totally ignorant about it, and I kept thinking I was dealing with rust, but I had the rude awakening that it wasn't rust. And so this whole line of figs I have right down this fence line, they're all relatively small-ish. newer plantings though, but they're all rooted cuttings that I had done. Uh, there for a while, I was like, these things are rust free, like not rust on a single one of them. Until I could tell something was different about it. So, and it was that anthracnose. I was lucky that they did not attack the branches on it. But my gosh, look at this. Just in like a week, this little tree dropped and then there are all its leaves on. I hate the looks of that, but look at the figs. Like some of them you can see. I don't know if my camera's going to focus in on that, but you can see some really dark spots on the figs, really uglying them up, an otherwise very pretty fig. And you can see the ones down here. These are newer ones. I think you can almost see when I started getting that anthracnose outbreak. Started getting crap like that. Those looking figs, right? Not so weird. But once I sprayed that Daconil, look at these leaves now. They're absolutely spotless. And like I said before, I had sprayed that. It was weird because even brand new leaves, before they even had a chance to even start spreading, like this little thing would have already been just covered in black to the point where I thought I was going to lose my trees. But it has made an amazing impact. So you can tell they've all been impacted. These really look mostly like rust. And I have no doubt I had also had some rust. I mean, I think I had rust and anthracnose at the same time, believe it or not. Um, but they're making a great comeback. I mean, you can see how beautiful and healthy and spotless these leaves are now. And you know what? That's in spite of the last 2 weeks have been so incredibly rainy and wet. I mean, we had just, gosh, 3 days ago, it rained all day and it rained all night into the next morning. That's usually when things really bust out in terms of rust and fungus for me, but I didn't have any outbreak and the figs still look amazing like the leaves. So wow, it's been huge. I kind of wish I would have used it a little earlier. I mean, they have had a lot of damage, but here we're only looking at leaves. I'll show you around back on the side of my orchard some that had some fairly serious damage. So this is Bass's favorite fig, and it's doing really well. I kind of forgot to tell you what these are. This is Pasquale. I love the leaves on this thing. They're interesting looking for sure. Pasquale. It's extraordinarily late. In some places it's called the Christmas fig because I think it is like November, December before that thing will ripen figs. Look at those Campanary. They've got some really cool looking leaves. And then this is a Grease Day St. Jean. And those two newly leafless trees are my Bordeaux Negra ramadas. Okay, so and this one too. This is my Black Tuscan, and it too has lost. Gosh, you can see from the bottom, maybe not quite half up, but it has lost quite a few. It just breaks my heart to see because they're so pretty, when they're spotless leaves and all. But since I have sprayed the Daconil, you can actually see how beautiful and spotless the leaves are now. And if you go down just a layer or two, you can start seeing what some of them would look like quickly. They started getting really ugly looking. And it's really helped. I think the other thing I really like about that fungicide is the fact that it adheres to the leaf longer, probably the stem too for that matter, than say like copper fungicide or sulfur. Because copper fungicide and sulfur, they always tell you to reapply after it rains because it just washes it right off. This daconil is not that way. You spray it on, and I think it must adhere to the leaf or something in the stem, because you don't have to reapply. They said, 7 to 10 or 7 to 14 days. And that really depends on how rainy it is. So maybe at most you'd have to reapply once a week. But if it's just normal moist conditions, God, you go like once a month with that stuff. And so you can use it preventative so you don't have these big outbreaks like I just went through. It's really weird because I did start seeing it on a few trees, but I didn't know what I was dealing with. I thought it might have been just rust, but it turned out it was not. And wow, did I pay the price for delaying that? This is a Martinica ramata. It's in a pot. It used to be the leafiest tree, but now it's lost. Jeez, 60 or 70% of its leaves at least. But nonetheless, it does seem like, it's still growing very healthy. The thing is, like, I don't know anybody, if you have a Martinica ramata, um, does that look like a normal Martinica ramata? I don't really see. I see some very almost like slight striping indications on there. I don't see anything really pronounced on this Martinica ramata. And I have this other potted fig. This is a panache. That's what I'm wondering. Like, what are the odds of getting two reverted striped figs? Because look at this. Okay, so these are panache. It might be a little dark for the camera to pick up. I hope it can pick it up there for you, but I don't know. I don't see any striping whatsoever on these figs. I mean, none. I bought these both at the same time from the same nursery, and it appears they both came reverted. I'm a little peeved about that, but it happens. I know it happens, but geez, to get two, it's a little upsetting, but I'll live. They'll still taste good without the stripes. This thing's really taken off. This is a narrow 600. I put it on a new stake, so now it's like nice and straight and tall. Pretty leaves. Narrow 600 has on it. I think Narrow 600 is the same tree as Violette de Bordeaux. Or at least a lot of people say it is, but it's probably close enough that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, honestly. This is probably, it is. This is my most recent planted fig. It is Craven's Craving. And I planted it, and a few days later, I made sure to hit it with a little daconil. Last thing I want to see is a brand new planted fig just lose all its leaves to this nastiness out here. This thing has actually, so this is Socorro Black, and I love the branching structure on this thing. It's like a weeping Socorro Black. But I think it's got a really cool branching structure on it, and it really has never seemed to suffer as badly as many of my fig trees have in terms of rust or that anthracnose. It's always been a fairly pretty tree. I mean, there was a few leaves you can tell here and there that have a little bit of rust or other fungus on them, but otherwise it's been a very pretty and very healthy tree. I bought this as a little tree. Actually, this was not a rooted cutting. I bought it as a little tree from JFE. And I was surprised. Excuse me, I was surprised at how big it was when it came in the mail. So I planted this last October, so it was already fairly late in the year. And to be honest, it really hasn't grown, well, all that much. It's probably put on, I'd say like 9 inches of new growth, but it was already a fairly substantial tree and already had somewhat of a shape like that. So I was like, cool, what a nice tree. This, God, I mean, it's now like 6 feet tall. Um, it's so ugly though. This was one of the worst hit trees. I think it probably had not only rust, but um, anthracnose fungus. And it has, I mean, at one time it was a very pretty tree, and once it started getting the fungus, it was just hard for it to catch up and recover. So I don't know. I kind of have a feeling it's going to struggle like this the rest of the year. It's a new tree, so I don't know. I don't really expect much out of it, but it's a Coldinam Noir. I'll be chopping it back, and we'll be, rebooting next spring, and hopefully it'll do better. I've actually had a few trees that seemed to battle with rust last year that this year are performing amazingly well. So I don't know if it's really safe to assume just because your tree is like maybe battling rust one year, if it's going to be the same next year. Who really knows? But I do know I'm going to do a better job at controlling my fungus here in the yard. I do try to pick up all my leaves that fall off. And I'm going to do a little better job of keeping my trees sprayed. I'm not always going to spray daconil. I think my plan will be eventually, like I mentioned earlier, springtime, maybe early summer applications. And then, once little figlets start forming, then maybe I'll just transition to something like a copper fungicide, or I even find hydrogen peroxide, diluted hydrogen peroxide works really well. I think, that'll probably suffice. For me, though, I do think that I had such an infection going, excuse me, that even my Smith tree, which, I think everybody knows Smith is pretty hardy and handles moisture well, it was one of my harder hit trees. In fact, it was hit so hard that almost every single end of these branches on this tree I didn't just go clip the ends of them because I wanted to. They were horribly infected, black. They got rubbery looking, almost like they were just rotting on the ends. And they got that uh, anthracnose fungus. That stuff is nasty. So not only, fungus, I believe, just attacks your leaves, but this anthracnose, it will attack your leaves, your stems. It can even attack the trunk of your tree. This one, I think, had early stages of battling with some. This is a Vertil de Oriola, which is the same as De La Senor Hibernica. It started getting hit, and luckily I got it sprayed in time, and it's actually looking really good now. It's rebounding very well. This tree, this is my Coldinam bordesatenca. It's got a few ugly leaves on it. I looked at all the stems on this thing, and it has it has been hit. Uh, I mean, a lot of weirdness. Look here, here's another one, like a branch tip. Overall, though, the tree has seemed to be okay, but since it still has so many figs on it, still ripening and potentially ready to pick, say, in the next couple weeks, I'm not going to spray it right now. I'll wait till most of the figs are picked and eaten. Like I said, you can, I mean, if you know you're not going to pick them in like 2 weeks, for 2 weeks, you're probably fine to spray. They'll be fine by the time you get around to picking them. So I don't know. Some of my trees have, but this one might need it. It's getting some really fugly spots. I mean, you can tell in some cases, like that ain't, like that ain't rust. That right there to me looks like that anthracnose, and it will get on your branches. And I'll show you a couple of cases. This is Verdino del Nord. God, I've had, geez, probably a dozen of these little tasty figs. They don't get very big, but They have a lot of just excellent, excellent berry flavor to them. And this one too, just like almost all of my trees, it was suffering as well. But once I hit it with a little bit of Daconil, now the leaves look just spotless. Yeah, okay, so here's a good example of a nightmare that I came across. And I did a video of this about a week ago. If you're interested in seeing what happened, but so this branch right here. I mean, this tree was, I don't know, 4.5 feet tall. It's a Jewel Noir. Um, and it was very healthy all the way up to the very top, 4.5 feet, leaves everywhere. In fact, it even had, I don't know, 6, 7 figs on it. It's a newly rooted cutting from this year, so it was getting started, but it was a pretty tree. And in a matter of, I don't know, 10 days, that thing went from being pretty to dead. From about, a couple inches above that cut spot there, from about here up like 4 feet above it was dead. And it was because right here in this spot, between my fingers above the cut, there was this horrible looking fungus on the stem itself. And not only can you see the fungus on there, but like the branch, it'll start out like a certain thickness, and then it gets much skinnier, and then it gets thicker again. That really skinny part is where it's being attacked by that fungus. And so what happens is, it's thick, and then it gets really skinny, and then it gets thick again. But that choke point, it's like it doesn't allow any water and nutrients to get to the top of the tree, and it just kills it. And it happened extraordinarily fast. I was like, what the hell is that on my stem? And next thing you know, the whole top of the tree was dead. Thankfully, it's got a couple of side shoots coming out on it that I think the tree is going to make it. Just set it back, right? But I think it'll make it. But the thing that was really weirding me out is right here. Okay, so right next to it is this one. This was Genovese Narrow AF. And it was almost as tall as that. God, that I-250 is just ridiculous. That's a rooted cutting. It's over 7 feet tall. This Genovese Narrow wasn't quite that tall. It was over 6, but it had the same thing happen to it. The exact same thing. I noticed one day the tree was leaning off to one side, and I came out to look why. And same thing, it had this like spot on the trunk that got really skinny, and it was, you could tell it had fungus, and then it came fat again. But that skinny spot, from that skinny spot up, the whole top of the tree died. But since I cut it out, you can see it already had these two sizable side branches coming off. But now, since I cut this off just recently, it's already kicking off some nice healthy looking foliage coming out of there. And I did, of course, spray these down with Daconil, that fungicide, after removing that branch, plus that removed branch. I sprayed those things down with Daconil too, and put them in a fire pit. I didn't burn them. I'm going to let that Daconil air out. I'm not going to burn a chemical in my fireplace. It's an outdoor fireplace. But yeah, anywho, I just don't want this stuff spreading, right? So I had to do that one. And then right the hell over here, another neighbor. That's why it was scaring me. It's like this stuff is spreading. This is a Hative de Argenteuil. Was, and it was beautiful. This was one of my more vigorous trees. It was probably, well, it was over 6 feet tall. And up until about, I don't know, 8 days ago or so, it was a beautiful tree. It had big leaves on it and had figs on it, and it probably had at least a dozen figs on it. And it did the exact same thing. Developed a very skinny spot on the trunk, very skinny, where you could tell it was like being attacked by a fungus. And a day or two later, the entire top of the tree died. And so again, I hacked it off right there. But thankfully, it's got a couple of branches coming out here too. So that was a train wreck. But you know what? Since then, I have noticed, in fact, I think I have an example. So I noticed also, here's a fourth case of me dealing with this. This is a panache, and it did the same thing, and I had to cut it out. I had to cut the top, I mean, probably the top 8 inches of this out because it also died. Same exact thing. You could see it on the stem. So this is the sack, and I need to cut it out because, okay, look at here. This is exactly what it looks like, okay? This has been battling I mean, it was a rooted cutting. And at one time, it was amazingly healthy, and then bam, like I've always thought I was just dealing with like really bad rust, but it appears I've been dealing with maybe this anthracnose more than I really realized. Oh, hell, I didn't even know it had existed. But anyway, so you can tell it's kind of got some really fugly spots on it. But check this out. So see how the top of this is dying? It's got figs on it and stuff, and it's dying. Here you go. Here's a good example, exactly what I'm talking about. So it's got, well, it's dying now, but it had some fairly thick greenish looking stuff. I mean, trunk. And as you get down here, look at how thin the wood gets right there and how weird looking it is. It's like white. It's extraordinarily thin. And so from those points where it gets on the stem like that, from that point up, like everything dies. It's like it clogs the inner workings of the stem, and no more water and nutrients can flow in there. So that's yet another one. So that makes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 these that I've had to cut the tops out of. I sprayed the hell out of this with Daconol the other day. So I know it's not spreading, but I think I'm still going to have to cut the top of that out. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't appear, I mean, it's not getting any worse, but it's not getting any better. And I don't like that spot on there anyway. It looks like a weak spot, so just cut it out. So that is the fun of growing in the constant wetness. I mean, God, it's been so bad. Not only that, but every morning I wake up, the humidity's just got the fig tree soaking wet. I mean, you might as well run the sprinklers every night. So it's a lot to deal with. It's a real challenge. And to be honest, a lot of the trees that I have are, I mean, this is just a big science lab back here because honestly, in this environment, a lot of trees here, people go, you shouldn't even be growing those. They're not going to do well in the wet south. And, they may be right. And I have taken heed on a few. I mean, there's some varieties there's just no way I would try growing here. But then others, for example, I mean, just a wild example here would be like Olympian. It's not necessarily known as like, top tier fig or anything like that, but damn, this thing, look at that. In fact, look at that. There is a tasty looking Olympian, almost ready to pick. But you talk to people about this one, and all I hear about this Olympian is like, don't try to grow it. It's just a splitting nightmare. And I mean, here I live, and just like, God, it rains all the damn time between the humidity and the rain and all that kind of stuff, and I don't get split figs. I mean, they don't. It's been a fantastic fig. Oddly enough, and I think it's only because it's young, one of the figs that has split for me is this little guy. It's a young tree. I think a lot of young trees just split. This is a Sal McGill Roxo. It's also known as Azores Dark. It's kind of easier to say. But it's in Mount Etna, and it had a bit of a splitting problem. But here's another, I think, an excellent example of like, this stuff is not, this right here, that ain't fungus right there. I mean rust. Look at those leaves. My God, that is not rust. That's that anthracnose attacking these leaves. Look at those massive holes put like right through it. This is a Chicago Hardy. This just got ass beat by this. Look at that. That's not rust, folks. That's arachnophobos, but it hasn't anthracose. It hasn't attacked the branches on here. See, this fig died, and I always notice where I start seeing a little bit of white on the branch. Usually is where you start seeing that stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of nasty season right now for it. I have taken care of almost every case that I've found. I found it right here too. This is my I-258, and check this out. Okay, so I mean, as you can see, like this is just normal looking stem, right? As we get up here, right above this leaf, look at that ugliness. You can tell it's getting thinner right here, and it's kind of getting discolored. It's getting that white discoloration on it. I don't know if this camera's picking up the detail needed to be able to see that, but you can tell it's definitely infected. And that is the kind of stuff that when it gets infected in just a small area like that, from that point all the way up is going to die in the tree. I hit that thing with Daconil a few days ago. I hope it stopped it early enough that it's not going to continue to get worse and that it may recover from it. I'm going to have to keep an eye on it though. Yeah, yikes. So this thing, this is a Tia Pena. And I had rooted, oh gosh, 35 cuttings this spring, winter. And it's funny because this Tia Pena was the beast of them all. It was so beautiful and so big compared to all the others. And I planted it out here in the ground, and gosh, up until, say, I planted it in March, up until like May, it for 2 months it was growing spectacularly. And then it got hit by rust. And you know, looking back on it, it might have been that anthracnose. Hell, I had this thing to where, you know, it had branches out this way and this way. I wanted to spread them out. And then, I mean, I assumed it was rust that hit, and it defoliated it. So it left these green branches like exposed horizontally, you know, laid out to the full sun all day long. And these branches started turning black. And then at some point, from some point on the branch up, the whole thing would die. And so I'd cut it off there. I ended up cutting this one off over here. But you know, in hindsight, I don't think that was rust. I think this might have been one of the first figs. This may have been ground zero, the Wuhan fig, like where my anthracnose like it started. Because it just has been getting beat. But you know what? I sprayed this thing with Daconil, and oh my gosh, look at it. It's actually making a comeback. This is the best it's looked in 2 months. I mean, seriously. I about yanked it out of the ground and threw it away and replaced it a couple of weeks ago. So, having said that, though, it is odd how some trees just seem to be, I don't know, seem to ignore they seem more hardy, I guess. This is a beautiful tree. This is 5 Terra A. It has lost some leaves too, also from rust and probably that anthracnose. This little violet sapor, which supposedly is possibly the same as Borgia rice, it also was. It was one of the first two that suffered from that anthracnose. In fact, you can see I had to cut the top out of it right there. So, you know, I've learned a lot of lessons here this spring and summer about growing figs in a really wet environment. It takes work. It definitely does. I mean, you can't just plant them out here and forget about them and hope they do well. I don't think that's going to work out well in the long run. Unfortunately, it's going to take some intervention. This was such a beautiful tree, Cosme Magno. The leaves on it are just are so cool looking. But as you can see, it's like a pom-pom now, right? It's like barren, clear up to the top. Although, and this is again, I don't think that is rust. I think that is anthracnose that was attacking some of these leaves. They're just extra ugly looking. But no stem infection, luckily. And this De La Roca, um, it has had its own struggles with rust and maybe that anthracnose. But a couple of weeks ago, we had a really high wind, and at the time, I didn't have it staked to a big tall stake like I do now, but it probably blew the top, I don't know, 16 inches out of my De La Roca. But I came out after the storm. It was like a 30-minute rain shower, but it had a couple of high gusts with it. And I found the top laying there on the ground, and so I didn't really know what to do with it. I cut it down to maybe 10 inches long, and I didn't even trim that many leaves off it, and then just stuck it in a big vase of water in the house. I am not kidding you. Within 2 weeks, that thing, that not roots, but massive. I don't know what the hell you call them, like ruticles. They're lenticels, something like that. But big knots, white knots coming off. That was amazing how fast it was. So just a couple of days ago, I stuck it in some kind of a mixture of Pro Mix and Miracle Grow potting mix. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll do okay. I think it's going to root and take off. This is Ondata. Um, Ondata's done really well. Like the rest of them, it's had its battles. Like you can see, it's lost all its leaves down below, and it used to have a bunch of figs down there too. This is a newly rooted cutting though, so I mean it's already. I pinched the top of this thing. Yeah, gosh, 2 or 3 weeks ago, because it's like 6 foot tall. And I have a number of them that are like 6 or over 6, and these are all new rooted cuttings. And I'm gonna just do the idea that I was gonna do the idea just let them go as tall as they want, and then at the wintertime when I'll cut them back to like say I don't know 36 or 42 inches, and then build some scaffolding on them. But to be honest, they're getting too tall. I bought these 8-inch poles. They're awesome. Love these things. 8-inch, 8 foot, 8 foot poles. I mean, I can drive in the ground 2 feet, and it still gives me 6 feet of support above that I can, attach my figs to, and they work out fantastic. Bought these things bulk online, Home Depot. I mean, I went to Home Depot to buy some of these. They only had 6 footers. These poles that I've got. They only had 6 footers, and they wanted $6.99 each for them. Like, what the heck? So I went online, and they have some that are deliver only. They were 8 feet long for $1.99 each. Unfortunately, though, I had to buy a box of 50. But you know what? I think I could probably use all 50 of them before all said and done. I probably already used 15 or 20 of them. If you're a plant nut, you can always use more of that kind of stuff. And so these have done actually pretty well. This is Galicia Negra. And you can see it still has some remaining ugliness on it, but after I sprayed, you can really see the difference. I mean, like here's a little bit older leaf. You can see it has some disease on it, right? And then we get to these newer generation leaves after it got sprayed. It's like night and day difference. It's so beautiful. That's a Colinam Grace. Really beautiful. I just put these up the other day. So these are grapes. Muscadine grapes. You can't grow regular grapes here in Florida, but these muscadines, that's a triumph. So I just got them tall enough to where I could get them trellised up on these cables. That's a triumph. Oh shit, Fry. That one's called Fry. And then I've got another one over here behind these big elephant ears. I've got it trellised up here on the fence. It's black jumbo, and these grapes get as big as a golf ball, and they're black. So I don't know. It's not figs, but I'm kind of excited about that. I don't know. If you're like me, I think most people that are into growing figs are into growing things in general, right? Figs just kind of tickle that special bone for you. But yeah, I love growing all kinds of stuff. But anywho, that's kind of a chaotic rundown of the fig orchard update and how I've been battling with the damn fungus. I think I've got the upper hand on it, though. I really do. I think I've got it under control. I feel a lot better. I was in a panic about a week ago because I didn't know what I was dealing with. But now that I do know what I've gotten going, what do we got here? Any birds attacking my face. Hey guys, what's up? But now that I know what I've got going, I feel a little better. I've got this nice looking Delson Jamagran that I have been waiting to go put in ground. But to be honest, with that huge outbreak going with all that fungus, I've been paranoid. I've been paranoid. But you know what? I gave this a bit of a shot of that Daconil too. And so, yeah, I think as soon as the rains calm down a little bit, I'm going to put it in the ground. Anywho, oh wow, the sun's coming out and it's getting humid, but thank you for watching the video. If you like these videos, please give a thumbs up or subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Have a good day.